Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Clipboard Confessional with Bobby and Anthony. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Aniano, and joining me as he does each and every week to prepare us for another week of NFL action, fantasy football, my good friend, colleague, co-host, Mr. Bobby. Wow, Bobby, we are at essentially the quarter point of our season now, week 4 of your fantasy season, of the NFL season. So one game in the books, Thursday night matchup, all done. We got a full slate of Sunday action. How you doing, my friend?
We're doing great. This time goes by so fast. I mean, it feels like 3 days ago we were waiting for football to come, and now it's here. Like you said, we got almost 25% of the season is over. I mean, we got this week to get through, and then, whew, it's coming by. I do have some very interesting news for you, sir.
Oh
You
boy,
That's football related. You and I don't mean to brag. But you are currently speaking with the defensive coordinator of the Winterville Cowboys 7 and 8 year old flag football league.
that's a
That's right.
that's a power position. That is
Yeah.
no doubt a man who. Let's just say you walk into a table, you don't need a reservation, but you get a prime table, you get a prime seat.
Oh, absolutely. I got a local restaurant calling me up trying to get me in for an interview already. It's
Does
awesome.
let me ask this question because this is important. Does your wife realize who she lies next to at night? The
I,
the 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 prestige, the power, understand the gifts that are going to roll her way now as she walks about town. This is there's now an image to be maintained as well. Um, wow, I'm blown away. I mean,
listen,
not even 7, 8 year old flag football. I mean, wow.
no,
Wow. I'm
and
honored, sir.
defense, buddy. I hope she realizes who she's next to. If not, I'll be sure to remind her multiple times
Absolutely.
a day, every day. And I
You
got,
could
dude,
actually literally tell her now to pull on your flag and she can find you perverted. So congratulations.
oh no, it is far too early in the morning for this nonsense. Dude, but seriously, I got them. We got 8 kids on the field at a time. I got them running a 4-3. I got a couple of dads helping out. I got the tackles in a 2-eye. I got wide nines for the defensive ends, safety over top. It's intense. Right now, I'll be honest. After 3 practices, we look like the early 2000s Ravens on
I
defense.
think so. Now, are you also in charge of bringing juice boxes and orange slices for after practice?
Not yet. I think that's only a game day thing, but that's probably going to be as part of my coaching
Good. A couple
responsibilities.
of couple of cases of Capri Sun and some sliced up orange, and you're ready to go.
Only 100% juice for my kids, though.
Nothing but the best. Nothing but the best.
Yeah, we'll leave that red dye
Although a
40 at
glass of
home.
Sunny D never hurt anybody. That's all I'm going to say. Uh, I don't even know where to go from this. I think we need to wrap up the show right here, right now. This
All
is
right. See you later.
earth-shattering news. You, Robert Saleh, right there, neck and neck.
Right.
Some of the best defensive coordinators around. But nonetheless, we do have a ton of football to talk about. I cannot believe I just told you to tell your wife to tug on your flag.
I
Anyway,
know.
there you go. There you go. You never thought of it. You're gonna walk. Oh, I'm not even gonna say what I was gonna say. I'm gonna behave. We'll save that one for off the air. Let's just say cleats and a flag belt and nothing else. Anyway,
Okay. All right.
um, we'll just go with that. A lot of football action tomorrow. We're recording this on Saturday, the day before, so a little late this week getting it recorded. We have a ton of action though on Sunday, and it actually starts 9:30 in the morning. Game in Ireland, the Vikings at the Steelers. A full slate of Sunday action, a fantastic Sunday night matchup, Packers and the Cowboys, and then a Monday night doubleheader, a 7:15 Eastern, Jets Dolphins battle of 0 and 3s. Does Justin Fields play? We won't probably know until Monday. And then a Monday at 8:15 Monday night, Cincinnati Bengals, Jake Browning against that Broncos defense. So a couple of fun games there. We have some good games actually. Ravens Chiefs 1 and 2. The idea of one of these teams falling to 1 and 3 is very, very interesting. Colts and Rams. Danny Dimes, does he keep it up? 3-0. The Rams 2-1. You've got your Eagles and the Tampa Bay Bucks, both teams 3-0, trying one team trying to get to 4-0 in the NFC. So there are some good games. You got good storylines. Giants bringing out Jackson Dart for the first time to get his ass kicked against the Chargers defense. Brock Purdy returning for the 49ers. But the one thing I wanted to start with, amongst all of that, the Washington Commanders. Some may call them the Washington Commies. Either way, I did
I knew
that
you were
for
going to
you.
slip that in. I knew it. I knew it.
Either way, though, Terry McLaurin is out. Jaden Daniels is out again. Washington is on the road against Atlanta. The running back room last week, everybody wanted Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt to be something. Even though Chris Rodriguez led the team in carries, Krosky-Merritt did get in the end zone. And then Jerry McNichols, who only had like 4 or 5 carries, but broke a 60-plus yarder. When you look at that Washington offense this week against Atlanta, an Atlanta defense that's only allowing 130 passing yards a game and 96 rushing yards a game, can we trust anybody in that Washington offense? And that includes Zach Ertz and Deebo Samuel with all these other reserves playing.
Yeah, I'm a little worried. Um, like you mentioned, the Atlanta's defense has been. I know they, didn't play very well last week against the Panthers, but overall they've been, I mean, very good. They've given up the least amount of passing yards to anybody in the league, and top 10 against the run. Mariota, as odd as it sounds, he produces. I think we talked about him last week. When he has to step in for Jaden Daniels, he gets it done one way or another. And if I had to trust anyone on this team, it would be Deebo Samuel number one, and probably Mariota number two. I have Krosky Merritt. I'm trying to get him out of my flex for this week. I think the future is pretty bright for him. But with all of I mean, we have 3 running backs getting touches in that
Yeah.
backfield, plus Mariota is going to have his rushing stats. And so I want to leave the backfield alone if I can and really just rely on Debo. And I know we have, do we want to put Luke McCaffrey out there? He's been kind of a hot name with McLaurin sitting. That's not something. If my I mean, the fantasy playoffs are on the line here. I mean, every week is important, and I don't want to roll Luke McCaffrey out there just because he may have an opportunity with a backup quarterback against a good defense.
Yeah. I mean, when I break down the numbers, I highlight teams in red if they are in the top 10 in preventative points. The Atlanta Falcon defense prevents everything. Okay. Only 131 passing yards a game, 96 rushing yards a game. They've allowed less than 16 points per game to quarterbacks and 15 points per game to running backs. They've only allowed 2 touchdowns. Like, the Atlanta defense is good. Now, I'm not saying Washington can't win this game because Michael Penix has been awful. Like, so that flips to the other side because you started hearing the chirping. Do we see Kirk Cousins? Is Kirk Cousins going to be fantasy relevant in your opinion, whether it's in week 4 or week 5 if Michael Penix keeps struggling?
Now, Raheem Morris came out and said, no, absolutely not. He said that after their, just dismantling by the Carolina Panthers. So I think Penix is safe at least for another week or two. Now, if his play continues like this, you put yourself in a tough spot, Atlanta, because do you bench the guy you drafted 8th overall that you brought in
For the
for
guy
Kirk
you gave a
Cousins?
huge contract for.
Right. I mean, they're going to have to bite the bullet twice in 2 years for the exact same situation.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely wild to see.
But the reality is, when you've got guys like Drake London, Bijan Robinson, even Darnell Mooney, and to a lesser extent, I guess, Kyle Pitts, and a defense playing as well as we said it is, you can't waste that. Right? You can't waste it. And you put yourself in this situation. You threw the money at Cousins, and then you shocked the world drafting Penix. Then you made the switch. Penix isn't getting it done, and I was never a Michael Penix guy. To me, it was the injury history was too extensive to invest in a top 10 pick. But you're a team that's built to win right now, and there's you could have tried to move on from Cousins. You could have cut him. You could have tried to trade him. They didn't want to do any of those things. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, especially if that offense struggles. If they lose to Washington this week, a 17-10 type of game, right? Against without their two best offensive players, right? If you lose to Washington without Daniels and McLaurin, you gotta consider some changes. Am I crazy in saying that?
No, no. The one thing we have to take into account are the egos amongst these NFL decision makers, because it has been proven time and
Yeah.
time again that they would much rather stroke their own ego than add W's in the win column. Now, for me, if I'm Raheem Morris, I come out and I say, "Look, man, boy, this is a wild situation. I've tried a couple things, they haven't worked. We're gonna go back to Cousins and see if we can mix this thing up." And if you say something like that, I mean, you're going to have people love and people hate every word that comes out of your mouth. Just what's best for your football team. And, like you said, if they throw up 10, 12 points against this Washington team and lose, the best thing for your team is probably roll Cousins back out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Some other news around the league, real quick. Mike Evans, we know, is out for the Tampa Bay Bucks. Chris Godwin is listed as questionable. He has a shot against your 3-0 Philadelphia Eagles. Are you willing, if Godwin is active Sunday, and it's a Sunday 1 o'clock game, if Godwin is active, are you willing to roll him out in this matchup against Philly? Philly allowing 186 passing yards a game. They've allowed 2 touchdowns to wide receivers this year. Are you willing to roll Godwin out first game back? Do you want to see what Baker does? And I know Baker was listed as questionable, but I'd be shocked if he didn't play. Or is this Egbuka all day long for you on the Tampa Bay side against the Eagles?
Yeah, you have to have a better option than Chris Godwin right now. He's coming back from a pretty rough injury, and this is first live action since he's not going to play a full slate of snaps. Um, what's he look like? I mean, he's come back from several injuries, and eventually we see with a guy like Nick Chubb, eventually those injuries come back to haunt you, and you just don't get over them. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be him, but I need to see at least one game of live action before I throw him out there. I mean, what's he going to play? 25% of snaps? And
Yeah,
like you said, the Eagles have only given up 2 touchdowns to wide receivers. So the chances of him, he's going to need a touchdown to pay off for you. And I just can't do that.
right. And I mean, can we just say like Egbuka is a stud, and I
Oh,
don't see right a complete stud, and I don't see Baker fading him from the action. Do you?
no, no. Now one thing, listen, you might want to, temper your expectations because Ibuka, he lines up on the outside, he lines up in the slot. Philly has Quinyon Mitchell on the outside, and when he moves in the slot, he's got Cooper DeJean, and they're two of the best young corners in all of football. And without Mike Evans, with a hobbled Godwin, I would imagine that Vic Fangio's got something up his sleeve to shut down Ibuka and make Tampa Bay beat him with the run game, or
Okay.
one of their ancillary pieces in the
Sterling
receiver
Shepard,
room.
whoever it may be. Right. Just real quick around the league, other injury news, right? Jaden quarterback position, no Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Joe Burrow, Fields questionable for Monday night, but he's practicing. And Baker, running backs, DeAndre Swift, Chuba Hubbard, questionable. Tyrone Tracy is out for the New York Giants. It's going to be out a couple of weeks. Now, I said it. I said it to you. Cam Scatterboot is going to be a thing in Giant Stadium. They're going to love him. He had a monster week last week, 20 plus fantasy points. However, that being said, the New York Giants go against the Chargers. The Chargers will only allow 14.6 points per game to running backs on the season. They've allowed one rushing touchdown all year. How much faith? Now, Jackson Dart's on the center, right? It's the creatine boys in the backfield for the New York Giants. How much faith do we have in Cam Scatterbo this week with this Giants team in transition? Now, I love Malik Neighbors because Jackson Dart knows where his success is tied. I expect Malik Neighbors to get 15 targets tomorrow. But what are we doing with Scatterbo? Not that I don't love him, but it's a tough matchup.
I think in fantasy, one of the most important things that you need for your players is opportunity. And Cam Scadaboo has got that in spades this week because, like you said, Tyrone Tracy's out. He's going to be the guy. He's been great at pass pro. He can catch the ball, so there's no reason to take him off the field. I mean, we could throw Devin Singletary in there.
Yeah,
I know Brian Dable loves him and for whatever reason tries to give him the ball, but Scatterboo's the guy. So if I don't want him as my RB1 or two. You know, I feel like this week with that Chargers defense, you're hoping Scatterboo gets to double digits. I think he can with the work he's probably going to get in the receiving game. But I think you buried the lead here with the Cam Scatterboo is going to be a thing. Dude, it's just not in Giant Stadium, man. This guy is gaining an incredible reputation. And I knew
yeah,
I liked him
he's fun
as
to
a
watch.
yes, as a person coming out, and I loved his play. I was lower on him as far as what he would do at the NFL level than you were, certainly. But my gosh, we talked about Baker Mayfield last week. Scatterboo is getting in that realm of
I like that.
highly, highly likable players. I mean, I watched an interview with Brian Dable, and they're trying to ask him questions. In the background, you just hear like it sounds like Ric Flair's in the building, like, and
Ooh.
they're like, what is happening? He goes, that's Cam, man. It's nonstop. It's all the time, all day, every day. That's who he is. And it's just so hard not to love that. So
Yeah,
I hope he goes out and gets 30 points against the Chargers as long as he's not playing me.
fairness. One more question about a rookie running back. Um, do you think Omari and Hampton celebrated when Najee Harris's Achilles snapped?
I don't think he's that big of a jerk, but I think there are fantasy managers out there that are that big a jerk.
Dude,
So
I'll tell you this. I'm watching the action Sunday, and I have Omari and Hampton. I rolled with him one more week, and I'm watching him do nothing. And I'm going, this is it. I can't play him anymore. And then you heard it snap, and Omari and Hampton ends up having a 24-point fantasy week once Najee Harris left the game. And now Omari and Hampton is in line for a monster day against the Giants, a Giant defense that allows 153 rushing yards a game. They've allowed 4 rushing touchdowns, 26 points per game to running backs. Oh my goodness. Omari and Hampton breakout coming potentially. He and Ashton Genty, the 2 rookies who have disappointed, in line for their breakouts this week.
what's going on in LA? Because as Najee missed a game in his NFL career, I'm not sure that he has. Like his whole mantra was like, we got a stable running back. He's not going to excite you, but he's going to get it done. 4-ish yards a carry, whatever, handle the load. In a matter of 3 months, he blows his eye up with a firework and then tears his Achilles.
Yeah,
I feel so bad for this dude.
that's a rough couple of months.
I know. Yeah, you're right though. Hampton, I mean, if you have him on your team, he's immediately your RB2, if not your RB1, which is where you drafted him. He just
Yeah,
got there, I think, sooner than we thought.
yeah. And again, go Ashton Genty. You don't. I know we've been disappointed. Great matchup against the Bears. To this week, 140 rushing yards a game allowed. Stick with Ashton Genty. I saw a great stat. Ashton Genty, and my number could be slightly off, but the proportion is the same. I think he has about 146, 145 rushing yards on the season, or something like that. And and all of them are after contact. Like essentially, he's getting hit in the backfield every time he touches the ball. Hopefully, they fix that this week against that Bears. One last question: George Pickens, how high are you on him? Are you willing? This Cowboy Packer matchup is tough. That Packer defense is great, even though they lost to the Browns. Wasn't the defense's fault. No CD Lamb for the Cowboys. Pickens, Javonte Williams, Dak Prescott. I'm sitting Dak for Bo Nix this week. Okay, in a guillotine league, I'm sitting Dak for Bo Nix. Do everybody wants George Pickens to be the guy? But this is a tough matchup this week. Where are you evaluating your Cowboys against that Packers defense?
Well, he's been the guy before in Pittsburgh, and it didn't really work out. I mean,
No,
he would have some boom games. But I just talked about opportunity and who are they going to throw the ball to? They're probably going to get behind. I mean, that Cowboys defense is ugh,
awful.
right. So
But
they're
you,
going to get
but are
behind.
the Packers going to be able to do enough offensively? I know the Browns defense is good, but can Jordan Love throw the ball more than 12 times a game? Do something. Do something. The Packers offense is like that meme with the guy with the stick poking it. Do something. right?
Listen, yes, the Cowboys defense is 31st in pass yards given up. Now they're middle of the pack in rushing yards, but that's because, why run on them when you can just throw it
Yeah.
all over the yard? And they've given up, I think, more points than anybody in the NFL. Actually, no. Let me change that. They
288 passing yards a game they've allowed, 31 and a half points per game to quarterbacks, seven passing touchdowns, nine total touchdowns allowed to the quarterback position already this year, right?
they've given
Yeah, listen, me on the center, you running a 5 yard out, we're going to be successful 65% of the time.
Yeah, they've given up the sixth most points in the NFL this year. I'm sorry, over 30 a game. But yeah, honestly, I like Pickens. I have him in. I started him over Marvin Harrison in a guillotine league as well. So we'll see if that pays off. Harrison actually was able to catch the ball at least once or twice on Thursday, which is wild. That
He saved himself late.
I know. But
That's a
but
guy
to go
right now, not to pivot, that's a guy who's, I fear, it's not physical talent, it's in his head, and he's losing a lot of confidence.
100%. But let's go in the Wayback Machine. Barry Rice struggled with drops when he started out too. It worked out for him. Now,
Yeah,
Marvin Harrison Jr. is not Jerry Rice, but it happens to some of the greats as well.
yeah.
So it'll be all right. But another thing to add on to your Genty thing, there's another player with negative yards before contact, and that's Chase Brown. So let me ask you, what are you doing with Chase Brown? You're saying to hold on to Genty. Are we holding on to Chase Brown as well? We're trying to get
There's a tough
what we can
matchup
for
this week against the Broncos.
him.
Broncos 115 rushing yards a game, 22 points per game. Listen, that Bengals offense is tough to trust right now, and this is a brutal matchup. Broncos are favored by 7.5 at home. Um, I will say this: it depends on the construction of your roster. If I could get Chase Brown out of my RB2 spot, I will. Uh, Same with T.
What's
Higgins. I don't know if I have to roll with T. Higgins either. I think Jamar Chase is the only one you could go with. Higgins has done nothing. And again, this Bronco defense, they've allowed one touchdown to a wide receiver, less than 30 points combined against this Bronco team, 1-2, trying to get to 2-2, and they're better than 1-2, and I think they know it. It's a tough matchup Monday night. I could, if I have the depth, I could pivot away from Chase Brown, but it's going to be tough. It's very tough to have that much depth on your team. I think you got to roll with them. But again, in a shallower league, maybe you do have the depth.
Can I tell you what's wild? In you and I's dynasty league that we're in, the huge one.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm actually in that league. I'm benching Dak this week. I have Browning and Stafford. Probably going to roll Stafford because of Browning's matchup, like you just mentioned with that Broncos D. But I also have Chase Brown, and my tight end room has Brock Bowers, Juwan Johnson, and Jake Ferguson. And I am staring, and
You're just
you can,
rolling all the tight ends.
dude. Honestly, man, I'm staring at Chase Brown, and I'm thinking, do I bench this Joker for Jake Ferguson, who has 1,000 catches on the year already? For like, he almost has less yards than he has catches. It's wild. But I'm I'm really contemplating if I bench
Yeah.
my supposed RB1 for my tight end 2 or 3. Like
Yeah.
that's the world we're in right
I
now.
never use two tight ends, and I'm I think it's a different one. Yeah, it's a different dynasty. I'm using Kelsey and Tucker Craft instead of some of the backup running backs I have. They're just getting too much volume. I've got to ignore it. And Kelsey against the Ravens, it's a great matchup. The Ravens don't defend the tight end particularly well. All right, let's get into a few of our lists. So let's start at the quarterback position. Again, we're not talking Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. We're talking a little under the radar must starts, and then maybe a player we'll like to sit. So let's start at the must start position at the quarterback position. Who do you have lined up?
We just talked about this matchup. You were a little worried about the points being scored by this team. I am not. Let's fire up Jordan Love at the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas has given up more fantasy points to the quarterback than any other team after 3 weeks. I know Jordan Love's only hit 20 points once in week 2, but he'll definitely hit it again this week. And against the quarterbacks that have faced Dallas, QB8, QB2, QB1 on the week. So we got a top 8 finish coming for Jordan Love.
Is Daniel Jones the current NFL MVP? Is he? I choke, right? You could see it. I can't even get the words out. Is he a must start this week against the Rams?
Um, he might be. He really might be. Now the Rams defense is pretty good, but like I have Fields in a league. I finally got my jet. Someone dropped him, so I scooped him up. And it's a league I have Jane Daniels. So for 1 week, I'm gonna have three quarterbacks, which let's not talk about that.
Right.
But I don't know if I'm gonna throw Fields out there against Miami, who's the worst defense in football, or if I just keep rolling old Vanilla Vic out there. Um, I think Jones gives me my floor in this situation. Fields gives me my ceiling, but Daniel Jones is it's wild, but I love it. And I probably will side with him and have to cut Fields and cry about it.
There you go. And what about a quarterback who you don't trust this week? Who you putting on your bench?
Well, it pains me, and we mentioned it, and I am putting my money where my mouth is. And my guy who I was high on, Dak Prescott, he's my summertime darling as a late round QB. I got to bench him. Green Bay is great against the quarterbacks. Dak doesn't have CD Lamb. And you have a better option on your waiver wire, I bet, than Dak Prescott this week.
Fair enough. Now let's pivot to the running back position. Um, there are some interesting matchups. Guys who have struggled, who have better matchups this week. Is there anybody who stands out to you that you say I got to get him in, even though maybe he's been spending time on my bench or in a flex spot? Maybe you promote him to your RB2, whatever it may be. Is there anybody you love this week?
Yeah. How about J.K. Dobbins? He's been so consistent. Every game this year, for the first 3 weeks, his
RB, I know.
lowest output, 13.8 points in a half PPR. His highest output's been 15 points. So he's not winning you your weeks. My gosh, he's certainly not losing them. He's the RB10 on the year. Cincy's defense is awful. So Denver should be able to lean on the run in this one, get ahead early, and just feed him the rock. And they're not giving the ball to anybody else.
No,
I mean, Tyler Bidet ain't happening. RJ Harvey, what's he got? 2 carries a game?
done nothing.
Yeah.
Droppable. What about DeAndre Swift has a nice matchup against the Raiders too this week. If you're hesitant on, I know he's listed as questionable, so we got to monitor that. Raiders, 5 touchdowns total allowed to running backs. I mean, both running backs in that game, Genty and DeAndre Swift, could be in line for a good matchup. No,
Yes. I was a little higher probably than most on Swift coming out. Looking like, we'll have to wait and see in this one. But he hasn't really done it for you yet. You're probably worried a bit. What about Tony Pollard? I feel like him and Swift are very similar. Pollard, again, not very efficient. Lots of work, no one else to give the ball to, similar to Swift. They're not going to give the ball to Roshan Johnson or anybody else. Kyle Monungai, the rookie. Houston's got a bottom 10 defense against the run, just like the Raiders. I feel like these are two players, both of them, Swift and Pollard, that you could probably squeeze into your lineup. You're not going to feel confident, but they're going to get you, what are you thinking, a half PPR, 9 to 12 points, something like that this week, and you're okay with that?
let me ask you this question. I'm going to play a little game here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the matchup. This defense allows 146 rushing yards a game and have allowed 5 rushing touchdowns on the season. In theory, you're like, oh, that's a must start situation. Now, what if I told you the running back was Nick Chubb against that defense?
Right. Both those
We don't
running backs are, yeah, it's similar spots with Pollard and Chubb. Uh, it's such a dilemma because
hear to like the minute we get off the show that the Texans are benching Chubb for Woody Marks because you
uh,
would run to throw Woody Marks in your lineup.
I would run to throw Woody Marks on my bench. I'm not going to start him this week,
So it's a
but
good matchup though.
it is. But let me ask you, okay, let me ask you a question with this. For Chubb, I'm not going to get excited for him. If you did not watch his touchdown run that we spoke about on this show,
I think he should be retired.
right? If you did not see that run, would you even think about putting him in?
No,
Right? It's usually, you want to trust your eyes and trust what you see, but the problem is we've only seen it once.
yeah,
And we both saw it and it looked like old Chubb and we're like, we got to get, he's back. But I got to try to get that one play It's like a receiver who has 3 catches on the day for 100 yards and a touchdown. And you look at the box score, like, holy cow, he got me double-digit fantasy points. That's great. Yeah, but one catch was for 75 yards. If you take that out, he had 2 catches for 6 yards, and it's nothing. Sometimes you got to eliminate that one big
But
play to
yeah,
really get a good look.
that run is starting to look like the outlier, and you can't trust the outlier. Some other good
Yes.
matchups. Mason with a smash matchup against the Steelers Sunday morning. And on the other side, Jalen Warren is a good matchup against the Vikings run defense. I want to love the Patriots run game matchup against Carolina. Carolina are allowing 138 rushing yards a game. The problem is it's Ramadre, it's Antonio. They don't want to go to Travion Henderson right now. We talked about Amari and Hampton and Ashton Genty in a smash spot. It seems like Travion Henderson needs multiple Achilles to snap to get his opportunity with the New England Patriots. Ramadre and Gibson's combined for 3 fumbles last week, and they wouldn't put Travion Henderson in a position to be the workhorse. I want to trust Travion Henderson. I want to use him, but the coaching staff of the Patriots don't. So I struggle. Like, we can't play Travion Henderson this week.
I agree, unless you're really swinging for the fences and maybe hope for that one big play. What is what is up with Ramondre Stevenson? He keeps getting these opportunities and squandering them, and he's a decent football player. I mean, watching him on the field, what's that?
He's not a bad player.
Right. This dude just cannot hold on to the ball, and he cannot capitalize on his opportunities, and it drives me nuts because I like him as a football player. But my gosh, I mean, he just lets you down time and time again. And you know how many fumbles Travion Henderson had in college?
No, you're going to tell me some ridiculously low number.
He had over 600 touches and did not fumble once.
There it is.
Yeah.
But yet he can't. You drafted him in the second round, and he's struggling for touches. Make it make sense,
Yeah.
please.
We'll talk about Ramondre. I'm in a spot now where in my flex, am I starting Ramondre or Stephon Diggs?
Diggs.
Really? He's done nothing.
Right, he's done next to nothing. But I struggle trusting anything right now in that Patriots backfield.
Well, I currently have Diggs in, so I'm glad you said that.
Is there a running back you want to avoid this week? I didn't ask you that.
Yeah, definitely. And this one pains me as well because he just had a monster week, and I love him, and I have him in our dynasty league. I maybe I'll bench Chase Brown and my guy David Montgomery for Jawan Johnson and Jake Ferguson. I I don't know if I got the cojones to do that. But Cleveland has been great against running backs, and not just any running backs. I'm talking Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Chase Brown, and if you can shut down those guys, you got a two-headed monster coming in. I can't imagine Monty blows up like he did against the Ravens D. This Cleveland defense is stifling, especially against the run. So it's probably going to be tough to bench him. I'm going to see if I can actually pull that trigger, but don't expect a whole lot from
He
Monty.
was allowed per game. Cleveland defense, 57.3 rushing yards per game. They allow, this is a crazy number, 12.8 total points per game to the running back position, and they have allowed just one rushing touchdown all year. That Browns defense is legit. Now, this game is in Detroit, and we know Detroit's offense operates at a different level when they're home, but so I don't think they pull off the upset against Cleveland like they did last week, but that defense will keep them in the game. Until Jared Goff goes off for 4 touchdowns in the second half. But that's a whole other
Oh,
conversation.
here we go.
They're home. They're home. You know what
Okay.
to do. Jared Goff is home. You play him. End the conversation. Let's pivot to the wide receiver room. Any wide receiver, maybe under the radar, somebody you love this week. There are some good wide receiver matchups. Chargers, they're 3 guys against that Giants secondary. Who steps up? I'm rolling with Quentin Johnston again. He's newsflash. He's the wide receiver 1 for the Chargers right now, ladies and gentlemen. Against that Giants secondary, he's one of my guys. Getting him in. What about you? Is there anybody out there who you're going to force feed into lineups?
Yeah, first off, I think Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen are like only 2 of like 3 or 4 receivers in the league that have had at least 60 yards receiving in every game this year, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, well, real quick, back to Monty. Did you see him he was on a podcast with Amon Ra and after the Baltimore game, and they said, "Hey, man, you wouldn't score that touchdown. Did you ever think about, taking a knee or falling down before the end zone? What if the game was different? Would you not score?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm scoring that touchdown every time. I don't care what the score is. I don't care how much time's left. I'm getting that touchdown, baby." And for some reason, it might not be good for real football, but gosh, I loved hearing that.
Yeah. And you as a defensive coordinator and the higher ups and the hierarchies, I'm sure it upset you
Oh
because
yeah.
you understand the importance of that clock. But anyway,
Yeah. So one guy I can't quit is Ricky Pearsall. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's got 2 games over 100 receiving yards. Everyone's still hurt. Maybe Juwan Jennings comes back. I actually don't care if Jennings comes back. Purdy should be starting.
yep.
He's currently wide receiver 18, but he has 0 touchdowns. If he even had one score, because no one's screaming Pearsall's name, at least none that I'm hearing. If he had even one touchdown, he'd be a wide receiver one, and I probably wouldn't even feel comfortable talking about him here because everyone would be starting him. And I got another one for you. How about Tet McMillan, another guy with no touchdowns on the season? He's
Questionable. Be a little careful there, right?
Yeah. I mean, if he plays, I got him in the lineup. He's wide receiver 29 because we talked about opportunity being so important. And he's got the opportunity because I'm pretty sure Xavier Legette somehow he has like negative receiving yards on the season. It's like I don't know what he's doing or how he's even doing it, but he's out. Pretty sure he's hurt, not playing. So they got no one to throw the ball to besides Hunter Renfro, who's going to get you 6 catches for 8 yards. So I think he's as long as he plays, I think he's primed for a breakout against New England.
Roman Nuzay, DJ Moore, you're playing them against the Raiders. Now, Raiders side of the ball against the Bears, both of these teams terrible against wide receivers. Jacoby Myers is in. Are you using Trey Tucker again? Coming off that monster game, 3 touchdowns last week. He's up to 4 touchdowns on the season. He was a top waiver ad. Are we using him because it's that Bear defense? Bears have allowed 8 passing touchdowns already through the first 3 games. Are we double dipping the Raiders wide receiver room?
So for me, if you have a spot in your flex and you got some questions, I don't mind playing Trey Tucker. But it's not because of his monster game. It's because he's had 2 games with double-digit fantasy points, which is more than some of our stud wide receivers can say. Our supposed, first, second, third round picks in our draft. Some of those guys don't have. What's that?
Brian Thomas Jr. coming to mind as you say that.
Right. So he's done it twice already. They're looking for him. He's running some high quality routes for the Raiders. So I don't mind throwing Trey Tucker in. I picked him up in our league, in our dynasty league. He was out there. So I'm trying to find a way to get him into my lineup as well. And they have some nice matchups coming up too outside of this week. They got, Chicago, Indianapolis, Tennessee, KC, and Jacksonville. They got Trey Tucker's got some chance to put up some serious points over the next month and a half.
What about a wide receiver you're trying to avoid? Anybody?
Yeah. I don't want really anything to do, and all of my avoids are guys I was high on over the summer, and I hate it. But look, we're going to be honest here and shoot it straight. DK Metcalf, I don't know what's going on with him. 10 points, 9 points, 10 points in his games. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not DK Metcalf. It's not what you signed up for. Him and Aaron Rodgers haven't connected like you hoped they would. And no one in football is harder on the wide receiver position than the Minnesota Vikings. I
Yep.
mean, I have DK in one league, and I'm doing my best to get him on my bench this week.
Minnesota Vikings allow the fewest points to opposing wide receivers in the league,
Which
20.2.
didn't they allow the most points to wide receivers last year?
Might have. Yeah. I mean, the fewest. Them, the cat. Now, sometimes teams don't give up a lot of points to wide receivers because they don't have to throw the ball, right? You just run the ball down their throat. And you can run on Minnesota 130 rushing yards a game, but only 20.2 fantasy points per game to wide receivers and only 141 passing yards a game allowed. Keeping in mind this game, that's that 9:30 a.m. game in Ireland. So these guys are going to be all, carved up on potatoes and stuff. So they're going to be a disaster there in Ireland anyway. Um, Go ahead.
So that you throw DK Metcalf out there, and he goes 3 catches for 32 yards and no touchdowns, you are setting your Sunday up to be absolutely miserable. And yeah, the Vikings gave up the fifth most receiving yard or the fifth most passing yards last year. And they're giving up the third fewest this year. So be very wary of DK Metcalf.
Let's pivot over to the tight end position. You play your usual suspects. There's no doubt about that. Tucker Kraft is off the injury report. So you're a little more confident with him, and you love him against the Cowboys, obviously. Jake Ferguson against the Packers. You love him. Packers allow 16 points per game. That is the one position they're not defending well, is the tight end position. And with CeeDee Lamb out, it's viable that Ferguson leads that team in targets this week, right?
That's my guy. You got it. 26 targets in the last 2 weeks. My guy, Jake Ferguson. Dak Prescott loves throwing to his tight ends, obviously. And who they throwing to outside of Pickens? They're not throwing to Cavante Turpin. They're not throwing to whoever else the wide receiver 3 or 4 or 5 is. It's going to be Pickens. It's going to be Ferguson. These guys might combine for 30 targets this game.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Browns could be in line for a nice tight end game, too. Lions giving up over 16 fantasy points per game.
But which one?
That's a good point.
You
Right.
know, that's what gets me.
Trust either.
And that's so like we talked about. I said David Montgomery's not a good start against the Browns for running back. If Gibbs wasn't playing, I got no problem because Monty is a good player and he would have a ton of opportunity. Well, David Njoku and Harold Fannin Jr. are both good players. They have opportunity, but it's so split with them. You don't know which one to throw out there. So that one worries me just a little bit.
One I do like, I love TJ Hawkinson this week.
Yes.
Against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers allow the most points to tight ends. They allow 18.8. Steelers have already allowed 3 touchdowns to the tight end through 3 games. Hawkinson got going late last week. I kind of like him again this week.
Yeah, me too. I have him in maybe both of my one and done lineups. I'm in 2 one and done leagues. I mentioned that before. Love that format, and I think I have him in both of those leagues. So probably shouldn't do that in case he bombs. But fingers crossed. I agree with you. I think Hawkinson's set up for a nice day.
Is there a tight end you don't trust this week?
Yeah, yeah. And I know I mentioned him as a possible candidate for benching Chase Brown. That was kind of tongue in cheek. But Jawan Johnson, we've been both of us been singing his praises, and I was higher on him than a lot of folks in the preseason, and he has absolutely paid off. But Buffalo's given up the second fewest points to opposing tight ends. Um, his shine, Jawan Johnson's shine's going to be dulling a little bit this week. Now, look, we got that opportunity thing, and he's a good player. This is a very tough matchup.
Yeah, him and Zach Ertz, who's been a usable piece. Atlanta gives up the fewest points to tight ends, 3.6 points per game. Atlanta hasn't allowed a touchdown to the tight end. Tough to bench Ertz because of what you said. There's matchup, opportunity. But after a while, and I don't know if we've seen enough sample, but we're starting to get there, right? You said it at the start, essentially a quarter of the way through after this week. Trends start to develop, and one of those trends is Atlanta does defend the tight end position pretty well.
Okay, so Ertz or Johnson. Ertz. Now, keep in mind, they're
Ertz.
they're this week they're going to be the second receiving option for their team. Now, Jawan Johnson always is. You want Ertz?
Yeah,
I think I'd go Johnson there.
I'd
Both
go.
with they're the worst matchups, right? Atlanta 1, Buffalo
Yeah,
2.
both tough matchups. I'd probably lean Ertz, but let's say this: I wouldn't make myself crazy. Like, go with whoever you have there. Like, and they're both probably like, if I have Johnson on my roster and Ertz is somehow a free agent, I'm not dropping Johnson for Ertz. I'm just sticking with Johnson. I'm not making myself crazy.
Dude, my buddies and I
So,
we're famous for doing dollar bets. Let's do one. Dollar bet: Jawan Johnson over Zach Ertz.
deal. Dollar bet, full PPR format.
That's fine.
Deal. 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 I'll send you my Venmo. Want that dollar. All right. That being said, now the game action. Full disclosure, I'm in one of those, one and done, pick a team, one team a week pools. I'm still
Survival.
alive. I played it, I think, as safe could be this week. I took Buffalo against the Saints at home. I mean, the line was at 15 and a half. And I don't know if they cover 15 and a half, but nonetheless, I played it safe. I never pick a road team. I played it safe. Buffalo to me is the obvious lock of the week. So I'm going to remove them from your pool. Who is your lock of the week this week?
Well, last week I was in a Survivor pool league, and
Ooh,
Green Bay screwed me last week, man. Green Bay, and I'm out. So that's it. That was fun. Good while it lasted.
dodge that one. I sweated that one out.
Man, I know that's gosh. So I've decided after last week, I want to make this fun. I don't want it to be obvious locks of the week. I did the Ravens and the Lions last week because that was supposed to be like a really good game and entertaining to watch. Everything was good except I was wrong. But yeah, that was a fun game. Here's my fun one this week, and this is going to be different than what I usually say. But how about my Philadelphia Eagles over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road?
Not
Tampa
happening.
Bay, Tampa Bay is 6-1 against Philly in their last 7 meetings, which I knew Tampa Bay had their number, but I didn't realize it was to that extent. The last time the last time Philly won was in 2023. Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be without Mike Evans. Maybe they have Chris Godwin. He's certainly not going to be on at full strength. We talked about Ibuka getting smothered with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, so the passing game is going to be a little rough. Oddly enough, the Eagles' rush defense hasn't been as good as it hasn't been in the past. Let's not forget where they shine, and that's in the pass rush. And Tampa just put two of their starting offensive linemen on injured reserve for the season, I believe. And Tristan Wirfs, their left tackle, maybe he comes in and plays, maybe he doesn't, but even he won't be going at 100%. So I think Philly's going to take this one.
All right, fair enough. Now, do you have an upset on the week?
Gosh.
Like a
So, and also,
Cleveland over uh, um, Cleveland over the Packers last week. Do we have a big upset somewhere?
so this, I think this was tough. This was the toughest week I had for the lock of the week and for the upset of the week because the matchups have, you know, turned out to be pretty good this week in the NFL season. How about the Jets over the Dolphins again on the road, which is,
Miami.
yep, you don't want to do too many on the road picks, but Justin Fields is probably back, and if he's not, then this is null and void. However, Miami has given up the most points this year on defense. The Jets have given up the fourth most. So I think this game is going to be a barn burner. It's actually going to be a lot of points scored, probably. I'm going to take the Jets 38-35. How's that sound?
There you go. I'm taking the Colts, who are a 3.5 point underdog against the Rams in LA. Danny John Dimes does it again. Colts go to 4-0. Jonathan Taylor is on his way to a 1,700-yard rushing season. Give me the Colts shockingly improving to 4-0. Bob, before we wrap up, anything else that we missed that you were going to hit on?
Not at the top of my I got one for you.
Okay.
Um, in a flex, Debo Samuel or J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins has a
Dobbins.
fantastic matchup. We talked about that. Wow.
I don't
So
even I don't even
wow.
flinch.
Is it the
Dobbins
matchup for Debo?
defense, a healthy Bronco off, a must-win at-home game for the Broncos against a beat-up Washington offense. I don't even flinch. Give me Dobbins.
I
Dobbins will touch
currently
times at least, and
yeah,
against
well,
that'll give you some points.
I agree with you again, so that can't be good.
All right. Thanks to everybody for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe right here to the Clipboard Confessional with Bobby and Anthony. We just started an Instagram page. It's fantastic. I don't know how much football insight's going to be there, but you're going to see me insult Bobby left and right on the Instagram page. So that's fantastic as
Wait,
well. So make sure you check out all the clips. I love it. I love it. A family member of Bob's is running the Instagram page, and I'm
my
pretty
wife.
certain she is doing it to take digs at her husband. I think
Yeah.
that is the the plan there. You would think her and I were in cahoots on this, but we're not. Although I think we are, in the back of our minds. So it's fantastic. It's going to be fun. So make sure you check that out as well. Bob, as always, I love this show. I have a ton of fun. Great job as always. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And definitely shout out to the wife. She's good with all this stuff. She's twice as smart as probably both of us put together. So glad to have her on our side.
And both of us. She adds a lot to this show, even though she's not even on the air. That's for sure. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Clipboard Confessional with Bobby and Anthony. Enjoy the games this week, everybody.
You're the man.